Hi, 7th graders. If you could be sure that you have your homework packet open to page 12 and a note sheet or a piece of paper to complete the problems that we will be doing in this lesson. Let's begin by reading our warm-up problem. Find the actual perimeter of the room shown in the scale drawing. Use the scale 1 inch is 4 feet. We want to end by finding the perimeter, the distance around that rectangle, using the scale of 1 inch to 4 feet. Some of you might be able to calculate this in your head and find out what that is. We could also set up a proportion. 1 inch is 4 feet, so 3 inches would be, looking at that we're multiplying by 3 on the top, so we will be multiplying by 3 on the bottom. 4 times 3 would be 12 feet. For the 5-inch dimension, we again know that 1 inch is 4 feet in our scale, so 5 inches would be how many feet? We see that 1 times 5 gets us to 5, so we're going to take 4 times 5 would be 20 feet. We now can fill in that 20 feet is the top and the bottom, and the heights would be 12 feet. If we find the perimeter, we're going to add the distance around. You should end it up with 64 feet for the perimeter. Please open to page 12 if you have not in your homework packet and you're going to be correcting your work. Be sure that you have all the steps and the correct answer and fix any mistakes that you have made. Orders of operation. Working from left to right, and your answer would result in a 0. Multiplication comes first in orders of operation. $50 take away 30. $20 plus negative 40 would be negative 20. Orders of operation should have multiplied first. You've seen this problem before and your answer is negative 96. Parentheses first. Parentheses over here. Showing that we need to multiply our two totals to get negative 166. A, how many bricks are in a stack of 20 feet high? We need to realize that 6 bricks is 2 feet high. We're going to use that information to answer those following questions below. If 6 bricks is 2 feet high, how many bricks would be 20 feet high? We don't know the amount of bricks. We're going to put our variable, and on the bottom, 20 feet, we will put, and we see from here to here, we are multiplying by 10, so we could be multiplying by 10 on the top as well to get 60. So your answer for A would be 60 bricks. Now for B, how high is a stack of 20 bricks? We could again say 6 bricks is 2 feet high, so 20 bricks would be how high? We're seeing here from 6 to 2, we are dividing by 3, so we would take 20 divided by 3. Please find that calculator and take 20 divided by 3 if you have not done so, and you should have had the answer of 6.6 repeating. So your answer would be, how high is a stack of 20 bricks? It would be between 6 and 7 feet tall. In our lesson today, we will be finding out how are the areas and perimeters related. As you've discovered in recent lessons, the sides of similar shapes can be compared in several different ways. Earlier in Chapter 4, you used scale factors to enlarge and reduce the size of similar figures and examined the side lengths of those figures as they changed. In this lesson, you will investigate whether there is a pattern to how the perimeters and the areas of similar shapes grow. Jenna and Greg own a lawn care service. Jenna mows the lawns and charges $25 an hour. She has one customer, Mr. Dunlap, whose rectangular lawn is 18 yards by 30 yards, which takes 1 hour to mow. Mr. Dunlap mentions that his neighbor, Mrs. Tolliver, wants to hire Jenna and that her rectangular lawn is 3 times as big as Mr. Dunlap's. Jenna expects this job to take 3 hours. Draw and sketch Mr. Dunlap's lawn and find out what the area of his lawn would be. Please pause and go ahead and take the time to do this. We're told that the lawn is 18 yards by 30 yards. In order to find the area, we take 30 by 18 times 18, which is 540 yards squared. B, according to Jenna's estimate, what is she assuming the area of Mrs. Tolliver's lawn to be? Go ahead and please pause and take the time to answer that question. If Jenna has been told that Mrs. Tolliver's yard is 3 times as big as Mr. Dunlap's, we know that Mr. Dunlap's is 540 yards squared, and if we have it 3 times the size, she would assume that it would be 1,620 yards squared. Now Jenna gets the job at Mrs. Tolliver's. On her first day, she is worried because after 3 hours, she has not completed even half of the job. She measures the rectangular lawn and finds out that it has side lengths that are 3 times the length of Mr. Dunlap's. What are the lengths of the sides of Mrs. Tolliver's lawn? And what is the area of her lawn? Go ahead and take the time to do this. Go ahead and pause. Now the area of Mr. Dunlap's lawn was 30 by 18, which was 540 yards squared. If now we're being told that Jenna says that each side is 3 times the length of each of Mr. Dunlap's, we're going to have 3 times 30, which would have been 90, and then 3 times 18, which would be 54. In order to find the area, you should have taken 90 times 54 to get 4,860 yards squared for the area of Mrs. Tolliver's lawn. Mr. Dunlap was describing the scale factor of each of the side lengths, not the area. What is the scale factor of the areas? That is, what would you multiply the area of Mr. Dunlap's lawn by to get the area of Mrs. Tolliver's lawn? Go ahead and take the time to find that out. We have Mr. Dunlap's, we said was 540, and Mrs. Tolliver's, her yard was the area of 4,860. Go ahead and find out what you would multiply the area of Mr. Dunlap's by to get to Mrs. Tolliver's. One way that you could have done this is taken 4,860 divided by 540. That would be the change. If you were to divide, then you would find out that you're multiplying by 9. So 9 would be the scale factor. Now Greg, he trims around the outside of each lawn while Jenna mows. If it usually takes him an hour to trim Mr. Dunlap's lawn, how long will it take him to trim Mrs. Tolliver's lawn? Go ahead and read the questions below, pause this, and come back to check your answers. You should have found the perimeter of Mrs. Tolliver's to be 288. We would have taken 90 plus 90 plus 54 plus 54 to get 288. That's the distance around. And then for Mr. Dunlap's, his perimeter would have been 96, and we would have taken 30 plus 30 plus 18 plus 18, the distance around, we would have 96 yards. Now, what is the scale factor of the two perimeters? To find the change, how much we multiplied from 96 to get to 288, we could take 288 and divide it by 96. That would be 3 times the size. Is the new perimeter longer than Greg expected from Mr. Dunlap's description? Well, Mrs. Tolliver's perimeter is 288 yards, which is 3 times Mr. Dunlap's. So it will take Greg 3 hours Although the lawns that Greg and Jenna mowed were similar shapes, their areas and perimeter did not have the same scale factor. What actually is the relationship of the scale factor between the sides of similar shapes and the area of those shapes? Go ahead and take the time to fill out the table that you see. Push pause and come back when you're completed. The side length, is 2. The perimeter all the way around is 6. And the area is 2 to the second power. The side length is 3. The perimeter is 9. The area is 3 squared, which is 9. Side length is 4. The perimeter is 12. The area is 4 squared, which is 16. Go ahead and take the time to complete this table as well, and come back and push play when you're ready. Side length is 2, the perimeter is 6, and the area is 2 squared. Side length is 3, the perimeter is 12, and the area is 3 squared, which is 9. Side length is 4, the perimeter is 16, the area is 4 squared. I would like you to take the time to answer to yourself, how does scale factor affect the perimeter? How does the change of one shape to another, like we had the lawns, how did the lawn scale factor affect the perimeter? And how does it affect the area? Look back to answer those questions. Once those questions you have answered, I'd like you to please turn and open up your homework and be sure that you have pages 13 and 14 completed for Monday. Take the remainder of the time to work on both of those pages. And if you do finish early, you can read, you can work on other classwork, or you can do any drawing. But please remain seated until the bell rings and stay quiet for your classmates. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.